And I mean, so many little golden nuggets there. I believe you guys have a website that people can go to. What is the website?
www.uphelp.org.
www.uphelp.org. A lot more information for you guys. So, I mean, listening to you, there's so much hope out there is what I'm getting from this, which is amazing. So you guys take this and be the hope for your community out there for those that have been impacted, because that's what today is all about. Up next, thank you. Up next, we have Dara Smith from the LA County Assessor's Office to come up and give more knowledge to you guys. All right?
Good evening, everyone. This is a busy AREAA day. I was at the AREAA North LA chapter this morning giving this presentation. I know that one thing about AREAA is all of the sister chapters and members always come out and support each other. So thank you for those. And I just wanted to give a little shout out to, I'm the member of AREAA Inland Empire. I want to make sure we give a shout out to those folks as well. Okay, so I just wanted to acknowledge some folks here that can also be a great assistance to you. We have the Director of Major Appraisals, Jeff Meyer. He's here. These are where all the technical practices that rely on Jeff. We also have our Field Deputy, Ian May. He's also somebody who's going to be a great resource in case you have follow-up questions or you need some help. So let's get started with acknowledging, first and foremost, the Greater Los Angeles chapter's leadership team. Excuse me, I'm recovering from a cold. President William Ruiz, and for putting together this event, along with the media past president, Tay Hoon Gang and Chantel Camarillo. This is one of those vital things that we hope, again, for those of you in the real estate industry, for those who are property owners, and for those who have loved ones, we're hoping that we can share some great information that you can take back. So, unfortunately, Assessor Jeff Prang had another engagement. We are scrambling constantly to try to get all corners of the county to make sure that we're sharing as much of the information for these relief efforts as possible. And so I want to make sure that we get started with you, especially specifically on the information that you've already heard about the FEMA disaster recovery centers. Our offices are also at both sites over at the Westwood Pavilion area, as well as in Altadena. I don't know if it was already announced earlier, but starting next week, they will be reducing their hours, so they'll be closed on Sundays. So it'll be Monday through Saturday from 9 to 7 p.m. And just so you know, a lot of the resources for LA County are available at recovery.lacounty.gov. Now, I just want to start with the main one, which is misfortune and calamity. We like to call it M&C. This is really the primary way that we can help those affected by the disasters, whether their homes were completely destroyed or whether they had damages. And so this helps with the property tax relief that we mentioned. And I know for those taking pictures, we'll share this with the AREAA leadership. We'll share all of our slides so they can distribute to you and make sure that you have them. So the qualifications are the damages must be $10,000 or more. We understand a lot of times you might not know what the estimates of your damages are. As long as you can guesstimate that you think that they're worth $10,000 or more, whether that's smoke damage or other factors, please be encouraged to submit the what we call M&C form to us. And right now, the claim forms are filed within 12 months of the incident date. And so when people are asking you, you might have clients who says, hey, what is that date? Rule of thumb is always, the date of the incident. A lot of people know it's January 7th, but there's some homeowners who didn't have damage because of the fires. They might have had it from the winds. They might have had it from the smoke. So they can try to guesstimate when do they notice the incident occurring, and it's 12 months from that date. So it's not it only has to be the date that the declared disaster is, but it's a good gauge for them if they need to have a date and they're, not sure exactly when the damages occurred for those that are not obvious damage from the fire. Now, additionally, we always want to talk about our property assessment partners and working with them, the treasurer and tax collector. There's something that you normally never hear from government agencies, especially the county property tax department, is you never hear us tell you, don't pay your taxes. In this case, we really want you, if you're affected by these wildfires, do not pay your taxes. We actually got confirmation from treasurer tax collector, it's okay to please distribute that. Our own staff was like, are you sure we should say that? But it's really true because we know how devastating, how enormous the impact is, that we want to go through some of that and kind of clarify for you one of those reasons for it. So again, these are additional resources. I know we'll talk about how to access that information. The next thing I want to talk about is the additional taxpayer relief. So Governor Gavin Newsom did sign an executive order allowing for the property tax deferrals until April 10th of 2026. And then there are specific zip codes in that executive order that this applies to. In addition to that, which is not really an assessor's thing, but again, we try to share as much information as possible from that executive order, is that the homeowners and the businesses may also possibly qualify for an extension of their state and federal taxes. So that deadline, typically April 15th, was extended until October 15th for those impacted by the disaster. And now, if somebody files a fortune and calamity claim, or again, M&C, is that we automatically are talking to the treasurer tax collector and making sure that they're aware of that and the impact, and so that their reassessments and their tax deferrals will be affected. So in this case, what happens is you have three types of buckets of folks, that property owners, that typically will happen. You have the property owners that get their tax bill in October, November. They pay both installments right away. So they're already paid. You have the second group, which is they get their tax bill and they pay it in installments. So they already paid for their November installment by December. And then now there's the second installment that's coming up, where the treasurer tax collector will typically send you a bill that's due by the April 10th deadline. So they have not yet paid the second installment. And then the third one is you have the property owners who have an impound account that they've worked with, that you've heard about. And so wanting to kind of go through what that impact is and how we're navigating that as a property tax department is the first group. They're going to get a refund once they submit that claim. And we're going to assume we're talking about a property owner who has complete destroyed property. So they'll get a refund. And what the assessor will do is they'll make a reduction off of that improvement. So the building that is on. Right now, we're still evaluating case by case on what that potential impact is on the land value, whether or not there's reductions and how it impacts it. So when we asked for you, we generated this new electronic M&C filing system. One of the confusions, and this is where it's really helpful for you as that conduit between the property owners and us, is when you look at a government, you're like, I filled out 1,000 forms. You asked me in this M&C form to give you your current address. And so we understand that typically in something that this devastating, you may be moving around multiple times. You might be staying with friends and family for a little bit. You might be in a hotel for a little bit. You might finally get a rental, things like that. What we want to do in that M&C is we're keeping tabs of you so that we can try to give you information through emails and keep you posted. Where people always get confused is they assume that means that we've updated our records for them, and that now I told you I'm now living at my parents' house, now, and so the forms should have that updated. Well, that's not as simple. And part of it, and part of the explanation that we give to you so that you can help them, is we want to protect you and your properties because there's a lot of unscrupulous people out there who anybody can fill out the form because we made it so easy that you can fill out an MNC form on your phone. You don't need a wet signature. There's no confidential information like Social Security, but anybody can fill that out. If they assume that you're a property owner who might have paid your taxes, they're going to assume, hey, a refund is coming, and they might try to put a different address. And by the time you figure that out, there'd be some complications. So the reason why we want to make sure that you're aware that in itself, like we really want you to read the information as you're filling out the forms. We try to put all these little like, hey, this is just for, informational purposes. It's not the real change. But again, sometimes people don't realize that. And then I'll kind of go over it in a little bit, the reason why. So the second one, again, is where the helpful tip is, I haven't paid the second installment. Do not pay that. Wait for a treasurer tax collector to send you the adjusted bill. And then you'll have some more time to pay that new adjusted bill. The third one, as I think Treasurer Fiona Ma had stated, those impound accounts, although the county is working to try to help mitigate that, really we need the property owner to contact their mortgage companies, their escrow companies, to really communicate that, because we don't want somebody says, well, the county said don't pay your taxes, so I didn't pay it, is this and that. You don't know the implications from their side. There's different mortgage companies, there's different things. And then the other part of it is in the property tax bill, everybody always confuses the assessor does the general tax levy, but there's the direct assessments. Now, the auditor controller, they've assured us that they've been trying to work with the direct assessment agencies, and there are probably over 50 different agencies amongst the various fire areas where they're connecting with and trying to request, hey, are you going to do deferrals? Are you going to waive these fees? There are some that you can't waive the fees because there might be bonds associated with them. There might be other implications. So there is still a cost, again, possibly to the land value as well as to some of these direct assessments. So you want to pay attention to that. Next item I want to share with you are about legislative updates and some of the efforts that Assessor Prang is trying to do and work with our state legislators on is the advocacy on behalf of the homeowners impacted is right now, as I mentioned, we have only a 12-month deadline between the time that the incident occurred to when you can complete and file that MSC with our office. They are trying to work with the legislators to extend it to 24 months. As you know, with something as big and drastic as this, we're really looking at this as a long-term recovery. And so there's going to be a lot of property owners that might not even be ready and mindful of, hey, I need to talk to the assessor because they're still working with insurance. Hopefully they'll work with organizations to help them get through some of these processes. The second one is allowing for a special property tax exemption for damaged religious, charitable, or hospital facilities to remain with their exemption status while the land is there and there's no property and with a potential grace period. As you know, let's say we did have incidents, especially at the Eden Fire, where a lot of churches, very historic churches that have been around, have burned down. And, there's challenges with them and their ability to pay if they aren't able to perform what qualified them for the exempt status, then are they going to be held accountable for that land? And so we're trying to figure out and work on legislation to help facilitate some of that. The next one is extending the deadline for homeowners to begin rebuilding their homes without automatic restoration of their original pre-disaster base. So typically, in some instances, you have 5 years to rebuild. As we've known from some of these other fires, that 5 years might not be enough time. And so that in our looking at the history of how long did it take for these other fires to recover, we've seen that there's been some extensions necessary. So there's legislation out there to potentially extend it to 8 years. And then we also wanted to provide clarity for when the governor declares disasters to help us with some of the triggers that help us in starting to go through that process with property owners. And then we also lastly want to advocate to grant the assessor the discretion to determine the appropriate date of the damage for the purposes of reassessment. One of the things that you may be familiar with is the lien date is on January 1. So January 1 is when you are determined what the current value of your property is. Guess what? The fire happened on January 7th, 7 days later. So in this year, the value of that property is still what was there on January 1. And so they cannot, as a property owner, review that right now for any potential decline in values until January 1 of 2026, because the property at that time is when you evaluate it. So there's some of those kinds of challenges, the technicalities that our office and the assessor, Assessor Prang, is trying to work through for the legislator on behalf of affected property owners. And so we are also trying to work with various legislative offices, such as Senator Sasha Perez, on address ownership discrepancies when they file. So we have a robust data analytics team that we try to use to provide insights into certain activities happening within communities. And so those are kind of some of the things that we're working towards right now and helping with that. Then the next one is, for example, say a couple has owned a property for decades and maybe they passed away in 2005. The kids are living there. They continue to pay the property taxes. You know, it's the family home, so they don't have any issues with it. They think that everything is fine. A disaster like this happens, and guess what? The first thing that you're going to be asked, who's the property owner? Who's on the deed? And the parents are not there. And guess what? Children, they're not technically legally the property owners. They don't qualify for certain things. So it's really imperative that the records are up to date. Another example that we've been getting a lot recently, especially at our disaster centers, is you and I know as realtors, when you're out there, the MSL listing will always say something kind of like, check the assessor for the records, right? And really, it's not the assessor who maintains the official records. It's the building and safety people where you pulled your permits from. But we work with them to get those records. But inevitably, there's going to be property owners who, let's say on the assessor's record, it said that their property was 1,500 square feet, right? And the property owner is like, oh, it's actually really 2,000, but I don't want to make changes. It'll increase my property taxes a little bit. So I'm just going to leave it alone. I'll just leave it for the buyer to deal with all of those things, right? So we have what's called a property data change request form. And before we even talk about the impact of the fires, typically what happens is you give us this record, this form that says, hey, I actually have 4 bedrooms, not 3 bedrooms. It's actually 2,000 square feet, not 15. We'll look at all the evidence you provide us, all the, your appraisal, the MLS listing when you bought it, things like that. Like, I did not have a permit. I wasn't the one that built it. It was already here when I bought it, whatever. And then the assessor will assign an appraiser. Typically, they'll go out, they'll evaluate the property, they'll take a look at it. Now, what's happening now? You have the same incident. House was supposedly 2,000. And guess what? When you rebuild and you want to keep and maintain that base share value, you're like, the assessor, you told me as long as I build substantially similar, I should be okay. Well, our records say you're substantially similar is all of these factors, including the square footage of 1,500. But you want to build substantially similar to what it actually was, right? 2,000. You're going to have to help your clients go back, find those records, look for, anything that can help them. What we've seen is the buildings people will say, well, you built the property. It was 1940s. The E5, these houses are older. You don't have those records. We didn't get into the electronic records until much later. So then they send you over to the assessor. They say, yeah, we have some records that says 1,500. No, that can't be right. So you want to help navigate and walk them through that. So again, it's lessons learned from all of these incidences if you don't have that incident and you are, as a realtor, you're trying to navigate and help your seller and your buyer, those are some of the reasons why it's important to have your records accurate and to share with the assessor those accurate records. And then, so for now, what we would do is we will try to take those records, especially whatever you can have, and we'll try to piece together. I had an example of somebody says, Palisades fire, but the slab is still there. You can see from the slab there was 2,000 square feet, but it's not just square footage that the assessor uses to determine substantially similar. So like, as was mentioned, records, video, things that can help us. Oh, this shows evidence there was really 4 bedrooms in there, things like that. So things of that nature is really important and can be very helpful in sharing information with the assessor's team. So then now I want to kind of go through the applying for the disaster and how to apply for it. So again, as I mentioned, we have created an assessor claim online. There's multiple ways to apply. You can go to the Recovery Center. We'll help walk you through it. You can apply online with your phone. And then one of the things regarding this email is we also created a relief@assessor.lacounty.com, which can help. But what I recommend is always try to do the electronic version, because that makes it easier for us to retain that information, keep access to it, secure it, especially if you want to start uploading and sharing information. Sometimes there's things in there that you don't want to get lost in the mail, email, things like that. Then next, again, because we know it's a long process, we're not expecting everybody to have their insurance records, documents, estimates, but flow the information that you have to our offices. We'll try to help. And this is more pertaining to those who have damaged properties versus destroyed. A lot of times we see the aerial footage. We know your property's not there. So we don't want to waste your time with working through it. Just make sure that that form is in place. But for those who are damaged properties, it is helpful for us to get some of that information. Now, as I mentioned before, there's all kinds of unscrupulous people. And so we want to talk about the disaster relief and how we are trying to help mitigate some of that. So prior to the disasters, you've heard all of the challenges, seniors being vulnerable, people putting different deeds on and then them not being aware of the property. Sometimes it's family members. One of the ways that we can try to help facilitate that is to create a partnership with the LA County Register Recorder County Clerk's Office and the LA County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. So we want you to work with your clients and everyone to register at assessor.lacounty.gov, sign up for an account, and opt in for the homeowners alert system. And this is something that even, again, as I said, they're senior citizens. They don't have emails and they don't go online, but you can sign up the property and the AIN for your parents. And what happens is the register recorder and the assessors, we talk. And so they'll let us know if there's any transaction, a transfer of deed or anything that has occurred on that property. Instead of the typical mail of 30 days, you'll get that notice within 48 hours. Now, you won't be able to do anything if you're not the property owner, but at least you can alert the property owner, hey, is this something that you did? Is this something that is happening? And that's one of the very useful tools that we have. And then the second one is we have what's called e-service, which is where, again, we want to try to get folks to electronically file because it helps with the record keeping, as was mentioned, keep all your documents. Emails can get hard because we get tons of emails, unsolicited emails, things like that. So when you file it online, you can log into your account and then you can see the status of the accounts that we have that are under our e-services. Right now, we have 2 accounts. One is the homeowner's exemptions. The other one is the change of mailing address. The reason why this one is so important during this disaster is, as I mentioned on the electronic MNC, we're just getting updates of where you're currently at. But we don't want to change your official record because, again, that official record that we keep and maintain is what we're going to share with the treasurer tax collector to send you your bills, and where the auditor controller is going to send checks if you had a refund coming your way. So we want to make sure we have your identification, we have your trust documents, that the property owner is actually the one initiating that change of mailing address. And so when you go in there, you'll be able to do that through our e-service system. And then again, for the homeowner's exemption piece of it, a lot of people are not aware, again, of the implications with having or not having a homeowner's exemption. And so it's really important to be able to prove and identify that that's your primary residence. And then if there's a possible death of a property owner, that the beneficiaries who inherit the property, say it's the child of the property owner, that they filed the homeowner's exemptions within 12 months. One of the things that we do notice, and which is one of the challenges that we have, is, you know, our clients or our property owners, they get really nervous, especially if they're first-time home buyers. They want to send you that form a lot of times to make sure that you have it, right? So they're like, okay, I think I signed this form during escrow, but I'm not sure. I got a letter. I'm going to send it again. I'm going to send it again. I'm going to send it again because I just want to make sure. Well, that causes challenges to the system too, because again, we have so many properties. Right now, I think for a single family residence, I think it's like maybe 1.8 million. It's the number right now. It's a lot of homes in LA County. So can you imagine having, you know, people sending multiple things all the time? So if you have it on the e-form, then you can see, like, I have it, it's still in progress. I don't have to bother them. I can wait. I see it moving in the system. And again, the electronic version connects directly to our work systems to help expedite those processes. So those are the critical ones. I always ask on this phase of it, how many of you have been to the assessor's website? Any? Okay. How many of you are real estate professionals? Now, do you know that there's a newsletter for the assessor's website? I'm going to task AREAA chapter to register all of your professional real estate, title, and escrow companies to register for our newsletter. Because especially during times like this with disaster relief, we try to take all of our subject matter experts and curate messages. You may not always get it in an email, but when it flags you, that's the added value that you provide to your clients, is we try to give you the up-to-date information. Like the messages I just shared with you on legislation. You will get in our newsletter, hey, this is actually what happened, so that you're up to date as soon as we're up to date on things. So we're spreading it out. And because we know most property owners are not perusing the assessor's website, they're calling you and asking you, hey, explain this to me. We want to make sure you as professionals have the toolkit. And then the most important thing is, as I mentioned, Ian is here. What I want you to do is, after you've committed to registering and subscribing to our newsletter, I want you to give us feedback on the toolkits that we are providing for you as professionals. We try to make sure that this is specific to you, to give you the question and answers that we get quite often that you're probably also getting. And so that if you're like, okay, this is all great and new, but my clients are asking me this question, that's the kind of information that we want to hear from our professionals so that we can update it. Because we know that as they're asking you about it, that means that the people who don't have professionals assisting them, they're also asking or thinking about these questions, or they're going to have very costly mistakes because they don't have an understanding of the process. So that's really important. So some more insider baseball information, so that you have that close personal relationship with our office, that we want to make sure is the awareness that we have under our assessor contact us, scheduling an appointment. Scheduling an appointment is probably going to help facilitate the answers that you actually want faster than the phone calls, and the emails. And the reason why I say that is in this scheduling an appointment, we're going to be asking you questions about what it is that you're calling about. And then we're going to be able to hopefully answer some of those before the appointment so that we're going to respond to you. If you still need the appointment, then feel free to continue to come in, or, we have virtual appointments, but hopefully we can look specifically at that property and find out what it is. Like for an instance, a lot of times somebody might call and says, hey, it says an ownership issue, your title company, you're helping them. And you're like, hey, I'm not sure. We just moved our property into a trust. We think it got reassessed. We're not sure what happened. And then you put that in, share the trust information so that we can look at it. A lot of times it says, no, it's just me. It's Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It was on the original deed, and we're the successor trustors on the deed. They didn't tell you, oh, but we refinanced. We got mom's name on there. And so now that creates a possible triggering stuff, or and sometimes that's the kind of stuff where you want to get some information from and talk to, or let's say it's a valuation issue. You just built, extended your property. You had a little bit of new construction and you're trying to get information. You want to be able to have that contact with us, share it through the assessor's website. Now, I know there's two versions, the virtual and the in-person. Again, virtual is helpful, convenient, hopefully for you. And then there's some others, and I don't know if we showed this. I know in one of the slides, this is where the complexity happens on scheduling the appointment. The assessor's office has so many different divisions, and there are a lot of complicated questions that get asked. And there's not one single point of contacting us to schedule an appointment. It actually is different topics we try to curate to you. You as a professional, we can try to help you. When you have no clue exactly who in the office to talk to, you go to the general one, public service. But again, if you know this is specific to an ownership issue, there's a box ownership. We want you to go there. Because if you just do the public service one, it might take a couple of days for us to route you to the right area. There's a section called districts. You go to the districts, that's generally speaking, when you want to talk about the valuation specifics to your property, they can help you. There's some of these other ones like exemptions, homeowners exemptions, disabled veterans. So to help navigate the process, really we're hoping to craft the website to make it easier for you to get direct access to the right people. A lot of times people are like, I just want to talk to anybody. Well, not really, because you can talk to anybody and it's going to take them a lot longer to get to that answer than the person who specifically focused on that specialty area. So that is one thing that we want to kind of encourage you to look at. Now, in closing, again, in times of these disasters and everything, our goal and our commitment is try to help give the information to you so that you can disseminate it on our behalf and share all the frustrations. All the complaints and issues that you get are vital to us so that we can try to help make improvements on that. So again, I thank you. I thank the partners. And if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us, and we're here to help support you. Thank you again.